We all want to be remarkable.
Your business demands it. Our communities crave it.
You know you're on the right trajectory when opportunities launch you into unexpected directions you never thought possible. Join me, Kate Volman,
and fellow marketing strategist Kyle Sexton every week as we explore ideas you're not considering.
Share stories from others like you who despise mediocrity, and discover how whatever you're building has the power to
change your business,
change your community,
change your trajectory. You know what we're going to talk about today? Setting yourself up for success, how to play to win, and why I don't play games that I can't win. I think it's mostly because I have a fragile self-esteem.
No.
Kate, you are you're planning out your 2018.
I am.
It's coming up in a few weeks, right? So you're planning out your 2018. You've got a new bullet journal. And you're starting to use it. I'm really curious as to how that experience is going, but we're going to talk about the trajectory of Kate today. Although you told me that you wanted to talk about the trajectory of Kyle.
Yeah. Why are you flipping the script?
Yeah. So we'll talk about that. So what are you working on right now? Tell me about your bullet journal.
Okay. I'm super excited about the bullet journal because I have a lot of different apps, and I talk to a lot of people about, oh, you have to try this app or these to-do list apps or all these different things to stay organized in my calendar and everything. So I get it. I get in the whole like shiny app syndrome. And so I've been hearing a lot of people use the bullet journal, and I've just seen YouTube videos and just talked a lot about it. And it was funny because I see most of it online through my online friends because they have adopted this method. So the other day I'm in a local coffee shop, and one of my girlfriends has this beautiful journal, and I freaked out because I ran over to her and said, oh my gosh, Sarah, you use the bullet method. Like you have the bullet journal. And she like freaked out because I just like popped out of nowhere. And she's like, yeah, I've been using this for a while. And I had never actually seen anybody like physically use it. I've only seen it online. So we actually did a video together, and I was like, you got to share this with people because I think it's a really cool system and I want to try it. So we did this video, and everyone was like, what is that? And it reminded me that, oh yeah, all my online friends know all of these different things than my offline, like physical, when I talk to them friends. And so they were so fascinated by this journal. So I got my journal. Disclaimer, mine is definitely not as beautiful and gorgeous. If you go on Pinterest and see what some people actually do, mine is not there. However, I'm very excited about it because I'm mapping out I have my months. You can't even see because I did mine in pencil, not these beautiful ink that other people do because there's a lot of erasing going on. But I have like different pages for my daily and my weekly activities that I need to accomplish. And I have different spots for, oh, you know what? This was really fun. So on these pages, I have different ideas that, and I have these little sticky notes. So when I have ideas for our podcast, for Trajectory, I just jot these down, and then I can take these little sticky notes and put them on the day that we're going to record them. So
it's people are going to be listening to this in 2018. And so the news of the day is that Kate has discovered the value of a sticky note.
This just in. I know. It's really funny because I know it's
a bullet journal to find the true value of sticky notes.
But I'm excited about it because there's still something, just like with books, there's still something about writing things down physically. In fact, there's studies that talk about people achieving more goals when they actually physically write it down. So yeah. I'm just testing and seeing if this is a better system than all my spreadsheets and notes and Evernote and all that stuff, which I definitely use and will continue to use, like drafting out articles and all that kind of stuff. But this, I just feel like I already Love it. And I love my little activities that I can check off during the day. So it's helping me stay on track. So we'll see.
So what's on your agenda for today according to your bullet journal?
Well, my bullet journal doesn't start till January.
Oh.
So
what are you doing on January? What are you doing on January 1st?
Well, before you just ask me about January 1st, I just want you to
What?
see. No,
I wanted to ask you if you were perhaps launching a podcast on
Oh, on January 1st? Well, I have I have notes for our launch, which is what I wanted to, which I'm excited to talk to you about. See, enough with the bullet journal. Even though I am excited to hear if anyone out there has a bullet journal or uses it, I definitely want to know about it.
Yeah, if you're using bullet journal, like if you've got experience using bullet journal, if you are a 2018 bullet journal or 2017 bullet journal person, would you please tweet at Kate Volman and hashtag get trajected? Will you please just tweet a note or word of encouragement at Kate Volman, hashtag get trajected. Tell us what you love about it, because hey, 'tis the season.
Yeah.
People are trying to get more organized. They're thinking about the changing of the calendar, and they're thinking about getting things done. And a lot of trajectory listeners are trying to get things done. They're trying to improve their situation. They're trying to get launched. They're trying to get to the next level.
Yeah.
They're upsizing. They're downsizing. They're right sizing.
Yes. Oh, I like it. They're right sizing.
In my case, where certain things we just get left behind.
That's right. So this is why I was excited about today's episode, because in a previous episode, you had told me, well, in a previous episode, you said something that made me really think. It made me think. Sometimes you do that, Kyle. Yeah. Sometimes you just share this wisdom that really.
I recall this moment, Kate, and what I said is, when you told me that you are in love with the process, I told you that maybe you should fall in love with the outcome.
Mm-hmm. Which I really appreciated. And then I thought through.
That was a shift.
Yeah. But so I found that I think that was kind of a default thing for me to do, was fall in love with the process, because of, like we've talked about, I'm a solopreneur and I kind of take on projects and then figure out this works and this doesn't. What can I keep? What can I get rid of? And so I think I just really enjoyed that whole process. And so when you said fall in love with the outcome, once, of course, again, it just made me think about how strategic you are with everything that you've done, because I've seen you over the last 3 years be really strategic, grow your business. You're continuing to increase your prices, even when everyone else is just kind of taking on work or staying the same every year. And so it's been really cool to watch you build your business and grow your business and continue to get better and continue to develop, like you said, going from solopreneur to actually being a business that you can step away from. You're working a lot less and you're doing really well and increasing revenue. So I think a lot of people would love to hear how you do that, because I think it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day work and projects and just keep on like working so hard every day, and versus setting a plan and really knowing what you're trying to accomplish and being strategic around it. So how do you do that?
Well, let me first address your comment about raising prices, and this is how I get a lot of people's attention. And I tell people all the time, you should charge more. And it causes people to go, what? I thought I was, but what it is, it's this, you should charge more is a challenge, not to raise your prices. It's a challenge to raise your value. But so much value is interpreted by price in our economy. And you've got to have 2x, 3x, 5x, 10x value to get X. And so a lot of the process that I've implemented in my business that is a result of strategic thinking is, how can I offer more value to my clients and to my audience? Because as a speaker, I have to think about my client's client, right? The meeting planner has an audience. It's their audience they're asking me to help. And so I have to obsess about my client's client. In my work as a consultant, I have several stakeholders. I have the CEO, I have the employees of that CEO, and I have the board of that CEO. And they all have different interests. And the board, their stakeholders, they are the primary stakeholders. And but I have to pass, my approach has to pass muster with every single one of those groups. And so value, every time I say value in my head, Kate Volman, I say these other two words. You say value, and I'll say my
Value.
words. For whom? It's almost never value from our perspective as the solopreneur, as the business owner, as the freelancer. It's almost never our value. It's always how the value is perceived. And in order to do that, you've really got to obsess about, or at least I do. I have to obsess because this didn't come naturally for me. Obsessing about my client or my client's client did not come naturally to me until I started to really dive in deep on the forces of price and value, and the force and how I can stop selling people things, and how I can just get out of the way and help people buy. So I'm never hiring, but I'm always recruiting. I'm never selling or pitching, but I am helping people buy. And we use everything that we need and nothing we don't in order to achieve that outcome. The outcome is the answer to the question, what happens when it works? Mm-hmm. What are the effects? And I don't believe in side effects. There are only effects. If one of the effects is negative beyond the positive, then we need to find a different route. And I think side effect is something that was created by the pharmaceutical industry. Oh, it's a side effect. Oh, don't worry about it. You got to take this pill to combat. You got to this pill solves your problem, and this other pill over here minimizes the side effects. Oh, and that has side effects too. And so this pill over here, right? So at some point you got to say, stop the madness. And let's create an elegant solution to the problem. But I like working with solopreneurs like you, Kate, because I can see the outcome so quickly.
Okay. But that's not, but the primary people that are hiring you to go in and speak, they are membership organizations, right?
Many of them.
So you're going in and providing.
Yeah. Associations. Yeah. Associations, chambers of commerce, and that sort of thing. Yeah. And their audience are business owners, people like you and me.
So you're creating a lot of value, obviously. I mean, but still, how is that? So the outcome is creating value. I think most people are thinking,
for whom?
Value for whom? So for a business owner, like, what do you see with business owners? Do you not think that they're asking that question?
I think they're not answering it specifically enough. I do believe they're asking it. I don't believe they're answering it. Or I believe that they're not answering it specifically enough, because for any business owner, you have I have 3 different categories of clientele. Your ideal clientele, they push you in really positive ways. They come around once in a blue moon. They buy everything you got. They're willing to spend more than even you've asked for. Your bread and butter client, these people love you. They want to share you. They want to talk about you. And then you know what's coming next, Kate, the customer. They make you cuss and pull your hair out. And they drive you nuts. It's the client you should have fired. And many business owners are just paralyzed with fear about firing a client, about pivoting their business away from somebody for whom they provide a solution. But I'm here to tell you that in case after case after case, so many of the customers and clients that you should have fired are, and the stories that they tell about you, and when you tell stories about them and their problems, you're scaring away your ideal client or your bread and butter client. So value for whom? For any client? For your ideal client or your bread and butter client? Or worse yet, the worst of all is creating value for the client that you should have fired a long time ago. The client who nickel and dimes you, the client who the client who has a coupon book, the client who is just a tire kicker. And people are afraid of not being able to compete if they scare away the tire kicker. How do I tell if somebody is? They all seem to look the same. They come in and they test me out and they ask me these same questions. Well, that's where process comes in, Kate. And in my business, I've figured out that first to the door wins the war. And if I can have a high value conversation with somebody who has expressed to me a problem, it's more helpful for me to spend a half an hour talking to that organization or that business owner to help them and also to vet them. So I'm trying to answer 2 questions in my mind. Number 1, can I help them? And number 2, are they good for my business? If they're good for my business and I can help them, then I'll extend even more value to help them. I'll extend so much value that they feel guilty and they ask, we want more. How can we work with you? And when people ask, when you deliver so much value that people feel, and because we're all human beings, we feel a sense of obligation. We feel that sense of, I want to give, I want to do something too, right? And this doesn't happen in mass. Like I can't have those conversations with people who read my book because it's a different medium. But when someone's sitting in front of me, just in the same way you're sitting in front of me right now, I can read them. I can see them. I can see the pain. I can show them how I've fixed it for other organizations and what the results have been. And then I get to interact with them. So I will gladly invest 30 minutes of my time at their convenience, because I even give my clients access to my calendar. You just get to schedule things. And I have 2 or 3, sometimes 5 prospects a week that just randomly show up on my calendar, but it's not so random because I've built a funnel where the question that I've answered at every stage of that funnel is what happens when it works. What happens when someone goes through the buffet of information or resources on my website is, if they're a good fit for me and I can help them, they'll schedule time on my calendar because there's a process in that funnel. First watch this, then watch this, then download this, then watch this if you're really geeky about this stuff. And oh, by the way, if you think I can help you, schedule time on my calendar. And during that conversation, I'm not selling them anything. I'm delivering more value, but I can see them.
Right. But don't you feel like what you're describing? See, I see what you're describing as that's the process. Like those are the activities that you do that you've laid out because you know the outcome. So when we're talking about process versus outcome, you have an outcome. Obviously, by doing all those things, providing that value to those people and setting up all of those other ways for them to reach you and find you and connect with you throughout whatever part of the sales process they're in with you, you're so obviously always creating value, but what's that outcome? And I find that a lot of business owners, that's the challenging part. It's not easy, but it's easy to do lots of activities that aren't going to lead up to anywhere. And that's where I think a lot of people get caught up. They're like, but I'm doing these videos and I'm doing that and I'm helping all these people and nothing's happening because they don't have that outcome. They're not as outcome driven, long-term outcome driven as well.
Long-term outcome. You're right. So they're answering the question of the short-term outcome, which is often a transactional outcome. If I invest this time, I'll get this outcome. If I invest this money, I'll get this outcome. If I hire this person or fire this person, I'll get this outcome. These are short-term transactional, if this, then this scenarios. But you just said it, Kate. You just said it's the long-term outcome. And I have to credit Wyatt, my son, who turned 17 in January, and he just got his braces yesterday. He's looking like, man. And Wyatt, when he was about 8 or 9, started in with what some people do at age 5. I did it at age 5, which is ask a lot of why questions. Why? And when he was 8 or 9, we were in the car, and he was asking me why I liked my job, why I liked doing what I do. And with every answer, he asked why. He probably doesn't even remember this conversation, but I can't forget it. He asked why. And I eventually had to get to that long-term answer because he just kept asking why. And maybe he was being a smartass. He is my son. No, I don't think he was. He was super sweet and innocent and didn't have that jaded teen sensibility. But he forced me to see the long-term outcome. And so my why comes out in all of my interactions with potential clients. And so for people who are thinking, gosh, I've got a product, I don't have a service. I'm encouraging you to think differently about that. I'm encouraging you to think about your product as a service. Like you go to the movie theater and you go, man, that's expensive popcorn if you're looking at it as a product. But what if you look at it as a service?
It's an experience.
Yeah. And when you change how you look at things, you also change the value proposition. Value for whom? Value for the people who took the effort to drive to your destination to have that experience. Value for the people who have already spent hours in a boardroom talking about how they're going to solve this problem. How many more hours are they going to do? How many more task forces, how many committees are they going to actually put this problem to wrestle about until we actually solve this problem or come up with a workable solution? And some genius in the room goes, you know what? We can't be the only person. We can't be the only organization that has struggled with this. And they're right. And that's when they start going out and looking in the marketplace. And that's when they type it into Google or they ask Siri, who solves this problem? And that's where the people who are publishing, people like you and me, Kate, who are actually producing content or creating audio, creating video to talk about these problems, that's where the universe will point these people in our direction. And like a magical matchmaker, put us together with a potential client. And we get to figure out at that point, what are we going to do? Are we going to try to convince them to take the next step with us? Or are we going to provide value in advance of the transaction, which we've talked about many times already, a la jab, 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 right hook, value before the transaction. And so while I'm doing that with my client organizations that I'm working with, I'm also practicing what I preach. So the long-term outcome for me is essential. My long-term outcome is I build stronger communities and better businesses. And they're inextricably linked, stronger communities and better businesses. And organizations that hire me can either focus, they can focus on providing more value to their clients, or better efficiency internally for staff, or raising prices. That's fine. Their reasons are their own. My reason, and I believe the reason that they're hiring me, is that I'm focused on stronger communities and better businesses.
So
I'm thinking about their clients. I'm thinking about my client's client, because these organizations are accountable to businesses, for profit, and to communities, not just municipalities, but communities of people that live within proximity of that organization that are working towards something. And these organizations need to be effective.
So it sounds like a lot of that some are just not as clear as you are with their why, and why, or obsessed. But yeah, that's just you. But no, I think it sounds like really that's what it is. Like, some people are very clear about their why, and they will do whatever. I mean, you can tell those people that are very passionate about their business in the way of, they truly believe in their product or service wholeheartedly, so much so that value just comes naturally. I mean, this is what they live, eat, and breathe. I mean, you just want to do business with those people, whether it's buying their physical product or it's hiring them for a service. And I think there's a big opportunity for, like you said, in the content space, for people to figure out how they're creating value and putting it out there for people to find them. Like you've talked about, being that magnet for those, to attract those right clients. So I think that's a challenge for some people to think about, especially when they think through their long-term play. How can they do that instead of focusing so much on the little tactical things like, should it be video? Should it be audio? Should it be, what is your message? What are you saying? What are you sharing? And what are you able to do that's going to really educate people in a way that gets them excited, not to buy from you, but just to connect with you, to learn more about you, to take that next step. So,
well, the difference in loving the process versus loving the outcome.
Can you just love it all?
I think it's no. I mean, I appreciate my process, because I came by it honestly, and I struggled. I manipulated it. I tweaked it. It needed to work for me, yes, but it definitely needed to work for my client. And a lot of the changes that I've made in my process have not benefited my client or the outcome. But lately, I'd say the last 3 years that you mentioned, the tweaks that I've been making, the changes, the manipulations that I've been making to my process are almost exclusively for the improved outcome of the client organization. And I've changed the why, for which why leads. The one that leads is the client's why. And I'll change my process on the back end to help accommodate that. So I think it comes down to this. Businesses and organizations that focus on the process end up becoming a commodity.
Oh, I think we have different ideas of process.
Yeah, well,
I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do.
Because I feel like
That's why you wanted to talk about this. Right?
Well, I feel like when I say fall in love with the process, I think part of that for me is finding what that value is for people, like trying different things and trying new things and putting stuff out there and seeing what works and seeing what doesn't. Now, you can't do that forever. You need to find the thing that works and roll with it. And I think that
Kate, you're about to talk yourself
I
out
did
of
that
whatever it
last
is that you're
time.
doing right now.
All right.
Just want to warn you. Are you? Did you feel
No,
that just now?
I can see your face, and
You
so
got trajected. You got trajected. Your mindset is shifting because you just said, and you can't do that forever.
you're
Your mindset just shifted at
well,
that moment,
but
and I saw it. So you can't
wait
deny
a
it, and I'm
second,
recording
though.
this.
You can't do that forever. However, you're updating the process of things. But I guess that's more of an update. All right, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with you.
No, you're not. No, you're not. Think about manufacturing, Kate. Manufacturers fall in love with the process. People hire a manufacturer because they have an outcome that they're trying to achieve, and they need somebody to obsess about the process.
Yeah, you have to have a good process.
So you got to figure out if you are going to be a manufacturer or if you're going to be a creator. And if you've read Lynchpin, you understand who gets rewarded. You understand if you believe in a world economy, if you're a capitalist and you believe in a positive growing world economy, you know you can sleep okay at night knowing that China's going to win on manufacturing. But nobody's going to beat American ingenuity and creativity and innovation. And we're not the only ones, but we believe we have a culture that rewards innovation. And American manufacturing is coming back, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. But the point is that when you choose which one you want to be, you're also accepting the downside of those things. So in China and also coincidentally in Japan, there's a culture that is it's very difficult for creatives, especially in business, because they are obsessed with process.
Mm-hmm.
They're very good at process. But you know what? Because there are organizations, not just countries and cultures, but because there are organizations that are obsessed with process, can your process be better than their process in your niche? Are you going to obsess about your process being better or more refined than somebody else's? And are you going to use that process to scale?
But what if you're in services, it's different. I'm seeing this all differently because then different. You know what? It's all a combination. It's a combination. Just like you've seen The Prophet. Have you ever watched The Prophet? Oh my gosh. I am obsessed with that man. It's a problem. So people, process, product. You need all those things. Like it's the people.
You got that from every MBA program.
Well, whatever. I like how he says it. All right.
Yeah.
People process, but you can tell he truly loves like the people. Like he is very well aware that it's the people that make the company, that make the business. But behind the people, there's a lot of mess happening.
Yeah, but Kate, what's your role in process? Are you working with organizations to fix their process, or are you working with organizations because you make your own process look so easy it's invisible?
Well, what?
Crickets.
I know. Well, I'm thinking through
Crickets.
Because I do different things for I do different things for a lot of my clients, which is I don't recommend that.
And you've fallen in love with all of those different processes.
False. I haven't, which is why I'm
approaching a sensitive subject. I can tell. I'm approaching a button. I just want to push that button and see what happens. Kate might actually explode right here on Trajectory.
No, this is why I wanted to talk about this with you, because I don't love all those things. Like I think that's for me a big piece of, okay, there are pieces about a lot of stuff that I do that I really like, but over the years I've realized how important it is to pick the thing, right? Like pick the thing and figure out how you're going to provide value in that way, because to me I just feel like when people say to me, "Oh, you need to know Kate cuz she," and they start rambling on of like she's a speaker and in marketing and all of these things. I'm like, this person is like, who is this chick and what is going on with her? So, but like for you, like you've really been you've honed in on what you do and what and who you are in that space. And so I think that there's a lot of clarity around that. It's a really natural, like you said, it's very natural for people to want to hire you because it's very clear what you do. It's very clear how you serve people. It's very clear the results that you get for people. And so I still get a lot of people that say, "Oh my gosh, I want to hire you to run my event." And I'm like, I don't do that. I don't plan events. I can find speakers for events and I'm happy to do like some of the programming side of the events, but people just think, "Oh, you're an event planner," or "Oh, you're a social media marketer." No, I'm not. I'm not going to post on Facebook for you. So I have,
But you have
right.
done that for people in the past.
And I realized they
Yeah.
didn't like that process.
Yeah, you didn't like it. You didn't like it. And like Marcus Buckingham says, if you're not good at something, maybe it's because you don't like it. Or if you don't like something, maybe it's because you're just not good at it. And the things that you love to do and the things that you're strong, the things that represent your strengths, those skills that you have are so closely aligned that I think a lot of people are trying to minimize their weakness and get their weakness to be mediocre when they can take the same amount of energy and apply it to their strength and turn their weakness into uniqueness. Not by improving their weakness, but by accepting your weakness, outsourcing your weakness, focusing on your strength.
Oh my gosh, that is my new favorite tweetable. I'm writing that down in my bullet journal. That's a tweetable.
Oh my gosh.
And it's going in my bullet journal.
Oh man. Well, you can read that on January 1st.
Turn your weakness into uniqueness.
So, Kate, I want to share with you how I learned to double my business year over year. I learned this from economic development organizations. So, economic developers have a mindset that's based on the data. And I've not been obsessed with data in my marketing life. That's not my strong suit. But I've learned how to use it. My strong suit is creativity and working within constraints. And that's where the data comes in for economic developers. Here's how it works. If an economic development organization is looking to improve the economic situation of a community or region, they have to first measure what the average is so that they know what mark they have to hit in order to reach that improvement. And the improvement is based on average wage, and the average wage is also related to household income. Okay, so let's say the average household income in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, I don't know, wherever, is, say the average household income is $81,000. That's about the average for the United States right now, actually. And so I picked a heartland kind of a place. And maybe Wisconsin's not the greatest, economy to represent the average in the United States, but maybe it is. So you got 2-income family, and let's say that the average hourly wage in a community like that, let's say it's on average, let's say it's $22 an hour. And these numbers are not particularly correlated, but the economic developers in that region will say, we are actively recruiting, not just jobs. We are actively recruiting jobs that pay north of $22 an hour. And that's where they're going to put their emphasis. That's where they're going to put their regional tax incentives, because they know that and everybody gets in a panic about people who are generally uninformed about the economy and the way the local economies work will say, why are we providing all these tax incentives to these businesses that make profit? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because they're not providing tax incentive to just any business. They're providing tax incentives to the businesses that they want more of. And they're using average household incomes to determine that. So how do I apply this in my own business? What's your average client revenue? Look at the clients who are south of that mark. Let them go.
Let them go.
Let them go. Find someone else for them. Give them the gift of missing you along the way, but let them go. You know what has happened since I've made that commitment in my organization, Kate? What has happened is I've created a new race. It used to be a race to the bottom, and I was winning because I was saying yes to everything. I had prices at I had rates for my services that were falsely created around what I believed people could afford for their particular problem. I was trying to get to a quick yes, not a helpful yes. And so I had prices of, let's say, $1, $2, and $3. So what's happened since I started taking that approach is I no longer have any $1 or $2 clients. I only have $3 clients now. And the reason is they're better about articulating their needs. And over time, I've built systems that address their needs more quickly because that's a big part of the value proposition. Now, where in the beginning of my business, I had $1, $2, and $3 packages. And now my packages are $3, $4, $7, and $10. You can't help but grow a business when you're obsessed about the value for someone who will invest 3 times what your highest package was when you originally started out. You can't help it.
Yeah. And don't you find that those people, it's easier to create value for because they're involved in the process? Like, oh, I hate that process that they're more involved in the process. They probably have a very clear understanding of what their needs are and really know that you're going to help them with that.
I wish it was that way. But remember, value for whom? The board doesn't. The board is only asking board questions. They don't know to ask value for the staff.
But the person that hires you,
so when
they
you're
know
B2B,
the value of you.
No, they don't. But the reason I wish it was easy, like you said. But if it was easy, it wouldn't have taken me 10 years to get to this place.
Yeah,
that's exactly how long I've been doing this. Is 10 years. But for 7 years, I said yes to an awful lot of things. And then I started saying no. And the reason is I have roles, goals, and why in my office and visually in my home to remind me of the things that I have said yes to in my life. And every time I say no to something, it's actually a yes. It's a renewed yes to those things that I've said yes to. Because I'm not going to add anything to that list of things that I've said yes to. And my clients are on that list. And the communities that I serve are on that list. And it's and none of my goals are to get rich. Not a one. But I have 2 whys on the list. One of them is my son. And the other one, the other why on my list are the children in households where there are no jobs. And if I can help create a stronger community and stronger communities and better businesses, so that a child somewhere is growing up in a household with at least one parent with a job. The opportunities for that child are exponentially greater. So we started off today by talking about loving the process versus loving the outcome. I am obsessed with my outcome. My outcome does not have a name, nor does he or she have a face. I don't know who they are. But somebody somewhere is growing up in a household that has at least one parent with a job. And the other side of that scenario, where nobody has a job, it's a dismal situation, Kate. It is a tough downward spiral. And when people can get and keep a job for themselves, and I believe that employers are uniquely positioned to help. And I think the welfare of the new economy is a job. I think employers and education, higher education, non-traditional higher education, post high school, are in a unique position to deliver training, to deliver support and resources to people beyond their proximity. And people can help themselves in ways that they've never thought of before. And you can either focus on the people who are taking advantage of the system, or you can go find people who are trying to help themselves out of these situations. And that's what I see everywhere, because I choose to. And because I choose to see that everywhere, I know what the outcome is every time I work on a project with a client, whether we're talking about, whether I'm talking about a client in St. Petersburg, Florida, or Greensboro, North Carolina, or Pottsville, Pennsylvania. The client has their own idea about what the outcome is. But my idea of the outcome is that there's a family somewhere that's going to have a job, and that's going to change everything for that family.
Now that's a long term. That's long term. Yeah.
And that's the difference. That's been the difference for my business. Yeah. So we can take the same exercise and apply it to Kate Volman
or anyone's business who's listening.
Wouldn't that be fun?
So yes.
So the call to launch today, I have a call to launch for folks. If you're in business for yourself, or you're anywhere on the trajectory, take a look at the things that are dragging you down and let them go. If you're in a business, you've got an average revenue per client, take a hard look at all of those clients who are south of that number and let them go. Sometimes to let them go, you need to let something of yourself go, because you have helped them to be south of that number. You've enabled it. You've made it possible. You went for the quick yes instead of the helpful yes. Let it go.
Hey, thanks for listening. If we could, we'd reach over and give you a big hug. But since we can't, before you go, can we ask you a favor? In order for us to create shows you can't wait to listen to, we need your feedback. So please head over to iTunes and leave us a review. It'll only take a minute, but it will mean the world to us, especially if you decide to give us 5 stars. And if you really loved it, take a screenshot, share it on your favorite social media sites, and invite your friends to join the party. Until next time, get trajected. Oh my gosh, I totally want to sing that song, Let It Go. I almost busted out with it.
I'm pretty sure that Wyatt would object to that.
Oh my gosh. All right. So we want to hear from you. So let us know. I feel like that's a really good call to launch. Kyle, I need to do that. I'll schedule that in my bullet journal.
You know what you're going to schedule, Kate? You're going to schedule a meeting on my calendar.
Yes.
And you and I are going to go to the whiteboard, and we're going to talk about yours.
Awesome.
That'll be my Christmas present to you.
Yay! Best Christmas present ever.
Also, I got you something.
Oh, geez.
Sticky notes.
Yeah.
I got you a whole bunch of sticky notes.
Oh, man. Awesome.